Hello, everyone, and welcome to GP Tuesday. We are a weekly AI meetup where we bring everyone together that is looking to learn more about AI. We have AI engineers, AI programmers, AI researchers, and every week we come together so that we can learn from one another and grow together. As AI is moving so quickly, we need to stay ahead, right? So that's what we do. We're creating a platform so that all of us can continue to build and grow. We want to be able to connect people, maybe fellow founders, entrepreneurs, and so that we can learn from one another too, based on our research and everything here. And today we're going to have some very special. We have a very special presenter, Henry. He's an amazing person, and we're going to be switching it up a little bit today. We want to help bring together not just AI engineers, researchers, and et cetera. We want to bring people with extreme knowledge and on the financial side, on the VC side, and also on the data side. We want to show you where this is also going for the long term. So I want to give a little shout out to Henry, our presenter. CEO of X Strategy Consulting Group. I don't want to share too much. I'll let you do the rest of the intro. I want to go ahead and give a quick shout out to our sponsors. The Hub is an amazing sponsor. They go ahead and they have amazing desks, offices, etc. here that I actually use myself almost every day. So if you want an office or a desk, I highly recommend getting one here. Beautiful offices, etc. So we met together at Venture Cafe in Miami, and he was doing a presentation, and I thought, wow, would love also if you were able to share your insights here. So before I take too much of everyone's time, I'll hand off to you, Henry.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to present today. I've been here 25 years, basically as a tech entrepreneur in the beginning. Eventually, after I sold my 14th company, I decided to turn into investment banking, broker-dealer. I promised to myself never to build another company, and I have 4 now. So that's what I do. A little background on me is I'm an industrial engineer with a very long career in technology, telecommunications, billing systems, fintech, multiple things. And about 4 years ago, decided to do a career change. And so I did a master's in space economy and a PhD candidate for innovation in aerospace and aeronautics. So I'm very, very broad based. I know a lot of things. Since about 2018, I have 2 companies that I created. One is an investment banking broker-dealer called Arica Financial, mostly helping companies on seed to Series A raise money. And by necessity, we created a within an entity called X Strategy, which is our public relations, investor relations company. And the reason we created that was in order to help entrepreneurs, business people, and believe it or not, public company CEOs communicate properly with the investment community, either be private or public because there's a gap. It's very difficult to communicate a product or service when someone's looking to invest in you and getting a return. Both communications do not match. They're completely different vision and objectives. So thank you for the invitation again to our friends at GP Tuesday. Thank you, Yara, for making this possible. And I want to start a conversation by asking a couple of things. How many here have startups in the AA space? Good. How many of you are scientists, data scientists, AI scientists, or engineers? Good. That's a good range. So I'm going to start my presentation in a very particular way. I'm going to speak about venture capital. Rest assured, that's the way it's going to go. But as a venture capital and a banker, one of the things I need to know before I look into anything is how big is the market, right? Because it's not the same thing to sell hot dogs in Doral than to sell AI applications on a global basis. They're two different markets. So what I did is in this presentation, I'm going to start, because I'm a geek and a nerd, I need to start this presentation by trying to make you understand the way we, the investment community, sees the opportunity within the AI world. And it's mind-blowing. So let me start with this. So for some of you that are data scientists or work in AI as engineers, this is a sort of a map of what has happened over the last 25 years. If you see in the column that says the years, that's basically a projection from 2000 through 2045. In the middle, there are cycles, and right now we're almost at the end of what we call the third AI summer, which is an evolution that has started in the 1970s. If you see in the state of AI, we've gone from machine learning to generative AI and self-sustained and auto-generative. That's common. It will evolve to get to that stage. I sort of did a little bit of models as they started growing. So we went from neural probabilistic models all the way to multimodal, which is a new trend of LLMs that is coming around. And I don't know what's going to happen in 2045. Maybe it will be Skynet. Maybe we'll have the Terminator. Nobody knows. By the way, Skynet is called Neural Net-Based Artificial Intelligence. I didn't pull this up. I pulled it from the internet. That's the actual logo. So it's mind-boggling that something that was created in 1984 was able to see so far ahead to 2045. And 2045 is a very particular period of time. If you'd like to read technology evolution and society evolution, around 2045, something particular is going to happen, which is called the singularity. And theoretically, that's when the capacity of AI will be more powerful than the capabilities of a human being to think. And that cross is the singularity. Nobody really knows what's going to happen. But, by historically, a superior intellectual being controls and dominates an inferior intellectual being. So maybe that's the case. Maybe we will have eventually what's called transhumanism. We have Neuralink with Mr. Musk that is trying to integrate applications. There have been news this week of companies that started creating the ability to integrate thoughts and being able to convert those thoughts into machine movement. Maybe there will be communications between those machines and the humans as well. So that will make, maybe that will happen. Maybe we will evolve into, instead of using machines and electricity, which is super expensive, will evolve to being biological processing. And I saw this week, actually on Friday, a company that is using brain tissue to start processing basic functions, basic computing functions. So maybe that's the way we're going to go. Now, the important part of this is, if you look in 2000, AI basically is not measured by the number of processing, floating point processing capabilities or MIPS or anything. It's basically calculated on the number of parameters that it can process. So back in 2000, right before 2000, there was a computer developed by IBM called Deep Blue. And Deep Blue had a chess match with Kasparov. And that supercomputer at the time had the ability to process slightly less than 100,000 parameters. And it was a revolution. I want to show you something. Within 2000 and 2025, we've gone from 100,000 parameters to almost 100 trillion parameters on Metal LM, which was launched 4 months ago. It tells you the growth that the AI is creating. It will create amazing changes and amazing opportunities, but they will be short-lived. And for those entrepreneurs, this is not a business you're going to be 80 years talking about. This is a business that you have to take advantage within the next 15 years. So, being the curious me and liking numbers, I started doing a calculation and said, well, if in 2000 we were able to do 0.701, which was the blue computer, and in 2025 we're able to process 100 trillion parameters, what is the potential growth rate of AI? So what I found out is that AI is exponentially doubling its capacity every 3 to 4 months. If you extrapolate that, by 2045, we'll be able to do 10 billion trillion parameters of processing. For a lot of us, including myself, I couldn't put in my head what the hell was a sextillion. So I basically made a graphical representation for you here so you can understand how powerful AI will become and all the opportunities that are going to come will be created from this. So we're at the door of a new dawn, a revolution. It wasn't telecom, it wasn't the smartphone, it wasn't the creation of the computer, or even the creation of fire. This is more powerful. So before I continue being more geeky and I start talking about the real things, which is how to raise money and talk to VCs, I started thinking, what the hell is a sextillion and how much would that represent in numbers? So I went to ChatGPT, of course, and I asked ChatGPT, what was the number of parameters that have been available since the beginning of life on Earth? And life on Earth has been around 3.5 to 4 billion years. We haven't been around since that early. So what ChatGPT says is there were about 1 trillion species, about 1 billion parameters per species. That is 10 to the 20, to the 120, to the power 21. That's a sextillion. If you saw my previous slide, by 2045, we'll do 10 sextillions. That will be the total number of parameters that AI will potentially process at its current growth. It means I will have the capacity to have all the information since life started becoming Earth to the power of 10. That is the power of AI. That is how much it's going to impact everything we do and we say in the future. So I know that a lot of you have seen these slides. It's all over the news. It's in every media outlet that we speak about. But it's important to know that AI will not only impact machines, but it will definitely change the way we live. Our lifestyles will change. The way security and defense is going to be fought is going to be through AI applications. It will be smart technology. I just have, right before starting this presentation, the Chinese launched a 3,000-kilometer self-sustained fueling plane. And it doesn't have pilots. It will basically be flying around for days, basically loitering, waiting for someone to fill it. Smart technology. Wars will not be fought by people, will be fought by machines. And trying to create attrition, and that attrition will be calculated way in advance before the combat starts. Education and knowledge management. Most of us here, the education that we received was probably 20 years old by the time we got to school. Unfortunately, or fortunately for most of us, the computer came around and so did the internet. So we started having access to more information. But there's a generation of us that, the only access to information we had was an old Britannic encyclopedia at home. And that was very old. When the internet came, it opened up everything. AI will open up everything. It will customize education. It will help identify the abilities of an individual and create specific education for individual, really taking advantage of their capacity. It will not force education on people, but it will basically help keep information available, real time, and realistic. No history revisions. In terms of energy, I don't even have to tell you. But I'm going to make a comparison. Um, she's 40 years old, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Weeks.
Something I learned in my PhD classes was that little girl has more computing power than all the computing power we have using AI today. Her brain is a lot more powerful, but she only needs to consume 800 calories a day to sustain herself. All the computing we have in the world today needs 100 nuclear reactors in order to power it. So it still means that our biological computers are still more powerful. How long will they last? We don't know. AI is very rapidly creating solutions to fuel itself in order to create energy alternatives in order to be able to continue its parameter processing capabilities. Economic systems and labor markets. There's no doubt. Unfortunately, when there's revolutions like this, there will be people that will be affected in the knowledge that they have. It's happening today. We know many people that are being impacted by the entrance of AI in their workplace. People are being displaced. A couple of weeks back, on an invitation made by the AI Salon team, we had a futurist, good friend of mine for many years. And he said something that I really liked, and it said, education, the ability to change in labor is not resisting AI, it's learning AI. And those who learn now will take advantage of the future. It's like when the Industrial Revolution came. Those who learned to use machines had a better opportunity to grow and get a job than the guys that were basically still moving a handle in a factory or riding a horse-drawn cart. So that's one of the things that is changing. AI will know everything about the economy. It will know who's supplying coal, how much coal there is, where is it floating, where is it going. So it will take decisions in terms of supply and demand and production a lot faster than collectively can do today. So the inequalities of distribution, production, industrialization, technically will go away. Let's see if our human pettiness doesn't get in the way. Climate change and environmental management. We live in Miami, right? We know how hot it gets here. I've been here for 25 years, and I can tell you Miami has changed. I've seen at least a foot of water on the ocean rise. I'm a sailor, I've been out on the docks, and I can see that foot of water at low tide happen today. I'm not going to argue if that's climate generator or anthropomorphic generation. That's not for me to decide. But definitely the ability to control emissions, make it transportation efficient, the use of energy efficient is going to happen, and AI will control it. It will be an integration between the machines and the environment in order to make a more livable place for all of us. Very quickly, we're going to be 10 billion people on the surface of the earth. And that's going to very rapidly accelerate. So we will need power, we will need a climate that will be able to support us along the way. I'm coming to my favorite subject right now. About 4 months ago, I was made an introduction to a very smart woman called Dr. Livia Scheller. And Dr. Livia Scheller invited me to participate with her in a biosciences, health tech, and AI fund. And I was curious because I'm not a doctor. Far from it. By the way, thank you for the introduction, Sadiq. The Dr. Scheller introduced me to something very important. And she said, pharma is dead. AI will change the way we do diagnostics and be able to anticipate the diseases that you'll suffer. We will be able to cure without having to give you chemicals in most cases. AI is doing that today. I was a couple of weeks ago meeting with multiple companies that are doing things for performance athletes, for curing people that had suffered PTSD or trauma, brain injuries from playing sports or accidents. And they were using AI in order to identify and strengthen those areas that were weak. Amazing stuff. And I can tell you 100 more things in oncology, diabetes, and literally curing almost every disease. Um, I am not a believer in living forever, but I can tell you today that we will all be able to live beyond the 100 years with the incoming of AI. We'll have better healthcare, we'll have better food, we'll have medicine that will not poison us. And that is here today. It's a matter of time before we start using it. I see someone waving there. All right. So let's get to business. I'm at the end of the day, I'm a banker and an investor. I created multiple companies and I like to identify opportunities. And within these opportunities, what I found is everything that in our environment, in our society, in the way we move, in the way we eat, in the way we think, we learn, is going to impact it. From infrastructure development all the way to having very personalized CRM. Today you can see it. You call the bank and there's a voice and you think you're talking with somebody and that somebody is an AI. And that AI knows more about you at that moment than you're expecting. It's anticipating that you're going to call. It's ready to give you answers today without no training. It's training itself from the actions that you do on your credit card, on your bank account, on your daily activities. Education and learning, a definite change. I was sharing with some friends here. I have twin girls. One is doing a double major in math and statistics and a minor in Japanese. Go figure, she was not busy. And the other one is doing finance with a minor in AI. And it's very interesting because the math major came back this summer and she told me I'm quitting math. So why are you quitting math? It's an amazing thing to have that basic knowledge. It says AI will do math. A mathematician has nothing to do in the future. AI will take over our careers. I'm quitting. So she's concentrating now and focusing on statistics. This is a girl that is at the University of UF. She's got a federal grant because she's a STEM student, female, and she's quitting what she started. She's feeling the threat in her second year at college. So imagine what will happen to someone working on engineering, on the financial systems, on anything that has to do or has to deal with math-related problems. And that's happening today. That's one of the things that is probably one of the lowest hanging fruit in terms of developing applications. Workforce and employment. There will be, unfortunately, we're going to have a period, there will be the have and the have nots. The haves are the ones that are using AI, that understand how to use AI, that take advantage of AI, and there will be the have nots. It has always been like that until there is a more equitative life or society. I don't know when that's going to happen or if it's going to happen. It's definitely not happening today. Creative industries. Netflix, Disney, and many of the producers that we have today have announced the last 6 months that the future productions will be done by AI tools. They will not use artists. The stories will not be created by people. This will be stories created by a machine. And the ability to create those stories. If any of you has worked in journalism or advertising, today, creative content is pretty much the work of a generative AI application. Graphic designer, designing vehicles, airplanes, anything that you can imagine is being created by the AI. It still needs the input of a human who is expecting it to tell it what does it want, but it's in a very short period of time, it will start creating its own things, thinking that it can improve and do it better. Ethics, law, and governance. We're right in the middle of an election, right? It's I'm not going into politics, but it's crazy. And it's crazy here, it's crazy in Venezuela, where I was born. It's crazy in any country of the world, just because people have their own needs, they have their own egos, they want to do their own things. What if we eventually have an AI president? Someone that will be able to see everything, that will fairly administer and manage the things that happen, that there's not a political party, that you're choosing something that will basically rule the way you should be. I'm 58 years old. I may not be able to see it. I hope I will. In terms of law, if you're a law, are there any attorneys in the room today? Strange. And I have a lot of friends that enter in the legal profession. And today they will tell you that a lot of the work they do is performed by AI. It's not performed by them. They request what they want. It searches information and jurisprudence in any of the forms of legal, either it's Roman law or Commonwealth. It will create contracts. It will recommend things on contracts. So pretty much that profession is changing, which means that the job of regulators will change as well. The more information there is, the more just technical law should be. So that's going to change as well. And not to mention ethics. Ethics is a very broad subject. And it's dependent on culture, it's dependent on where you were born, it's dependent on your socioeconomic level. But AI is leveling that field, because if we all have access to information the same way that everybody else, and everything is equal, technically we would be able to level the field of ethics as well. Now, it's dangerous, because the same way that we're creating things to cure illnesses, some people are creating things to kill us. And the machine that's thinking how to heal us is not seeing eye to eye with the machine that's thinking how to destroy us. So there's an ethical question that is huge. And that's probably one of the topics that should be visited in the future. So what are the key challenges? Again, managing the ethical, societal, economic implications. Mitigating risks. It's a topic that's being discussed by regulators, by lawmakers, by all parts of society. And it's an issue. It's a big issue. And the other thing that I think is the bottom, and I hope that as we start creating things ourselves, until AI starts creating by itself, that it will leave the humankind in harm. Again, I take you to the first slide. 1984, Terminator. There was Skylink. I didn't create it. Someone came up with the idea before that when they wrote the book or the script for that movie. So let me tell you how big this is. The last 6 months, these are the top 20 AI companies that came to market in multiple stages of races. $16 billion, no less, have been invested in 20 companies. Take out of here all of the chip manufacturers, infrastructure providers, internet providers, power providers. This is just software. And I picked this for you so you can realize in the focus of all these companies, what are they doing in terms of impacting society? And more importantly, and I put the countries as well, because this is not only happening in the US, it's a global event. The total valuation of these companies was close to $90 million. $90 million, billion, sorry, $90 billion. And $90 billion sounds like a small number today. It's a huge number of value creation within 6 months. So it's one of the few industries that is creating a massive revolution, but it will have its issues. So in terms of valuations, what's happening is that most of the AI projects today are exceptionally high compared to other sectors. There's no other sector in the economy today that has the valuations that an AI project has. It doesn't exist. It doesn't matter if you're mining purified uranium or straight gold, which, by the way, it was almost $1 million on Monday, an ingot. There's nothing like this. It has not happened. Not even in 2000 when the dot-com was its peak or the entrance of the smartphone. It has not happened. And there's a huge opportunity. And by the way, everyone that is here is realizing that now. I hope that you become very rich and that you remember this day. But this whole competition in AI is creating an intense pressure. And that intense pressure is creating a lot of potential problems for multiple industries. Why? Because there's high valuations. What they're doing is attracting a flood of capital, but the underlying enterprise value is not there. So it's becoming very speculative, like it was during the dot-com. So you may have companies that will never make a revenue, but they're getting valuations in the billions of dollars. And we all remember what happened during the dot-com. 70% of the companies that were funded went under, with people losing billions and billions of dollars of actually hard-earned money. And that potentially can happen here. So a lot of the people in my industry are concerned about that. When we're sitting down with companies that are presenting valuation and models, we are very concerned because the numbers are outrageous. It's good, but be realistic. So let's speak a little bit of what we VCs like to see. And we call it the powerful nine. When you go to present a project, there's 9 things that anyone in the VC or private equity or even corporate banking will basically look at. And those are the typical things that you learn in business school, that you heard in multiple presentations before, which is have a market potential. Understand clearly what is the addressable market of your project. Scalability, how fast you can grow. You all saw my numbers in the beginning. This thing is growing faster than you can go behind it. So how fast you can grow in terms of numbers, customers, revenues, sustainability. Have a clear and very precise business model. There's a lot of copycats and a lot of Me Too's. And unfortunately, when you go to a VC, the VC probably has seen 4 times a project similar to yours. So be very aware that you're coming with something that is creative and innovative, or can be complementary to something else. Technology and innovation, I think it's redundant to say how much innovation has come from AI as of lately, how much technology has been produced in the different languages modules that have been created. It just continues to grow. In terms of financials, it's very difficult because the problem is when you look at these projects today, you may be thinking local, but this application may be global. And it's very difficult if you're a startup to address a global market, to really understand how far you can go. But that's one of the things you need to be very aware. Try to create your financials where you can control. Don't worry what will happen if it goes beyond that. There will be people helping you there. Traction and validation is a hot topic. I see a lot of projects that come to us on the AI side. And I tell people, how are you going to go after clients? How are you going to get customers on board? And a lot of people say, no, they'll sign up and they'll come online. I said, that doesn't happen that way. You have to reach out. There is marketing, advertising, knocking on doors. If you're looking at defense, you cannot put things on the internet for defense, right? If you're doing biosciences, you're talking to doctors, you're talking to clinics, convincing them to actually come on board and do something. So be clear. Understand how you're going to create traction and create a customer base. Super important. More so in the AI world. Team expertise, everyone tells you that. In AI, is even more important. There's a lot of people that are thinking this is the next wave. We all went through the nice times of crypto and tokenization, and a lot of people that created all sorts of NFTs and tokens and all sorts of things. A bunch of people didn't know what they were doing, but they thought they were. I was wild times. AI is not that forgiving. If you don't know the technology or the science, or you understand the market, you will fail and you will not raise money. The competitive landscape is easy to find out today. It's easy to understand who you're competing with, who you're potentially comparing with, who you can complement with. And that's very important. Create those maps. Those maps are super powerful, and it's easier for the VC or the investor to understand who you're potentially dealing with, how faster or how slower are they growing compared to you. Be ready for that. And of course, exit potential. Everyone wants to make money, especially VCs. That's going to take me to the next slide. So when I meet with a lot of startups or companies that are starting up, I tell them, do you have your bag of tricks? And what's a bag of tricks? Well, you're going to present to somebody. It's like, it's like a first date or first business meeting. You have to be ready. You cannot go, improvising. So what I tell people is know your valuation and define it with your life. Because our role on the other side is to destroy that valuation. Okay, so you have all the arguments that you have in order to be able to present it, defend it, and support it. Your equity is your currency. If you get away, you're not getting it back. So clawbacks, earnbacks, all of those things are very nice in paper. It's really up to you to perform, but more often than not, you lose it. So don't give it away. Also, protect it. That's the only thing you have when you're raising money. It's not your idea. It's not the business. It's your equity. Unfortunately, slideware is free. So if you don't have a product, or you have a thesis, or you have a theory that you can prove, everyone can come up with a PowerPoint presentation and present it. You will be dismissed very quickly. They'll thank you, they'll give you a nice cup of coffee, but they will not take you again. So be prepared with something that is real and solid. Control the narrative. Do not improvise. If we ask you something that you don't know, say, I do not know. Do not try to tap dance your way around it, because very quickly we'll find out what it is. It's easy. Say you don't know. Say you'll find out. Say it's part of the unknowns of the business. That is perfectly acceptable to do. And I tell a lot of startup founders, do not come up with crazy numbers. Do not create markets that don't exist. Come up with things that are real. It's okay. You can start small. We all want you to grow. An important one. There's no attorneys here. But your legal counsel is your best friend, because he will protect you when you do the subscription agreements, employment agreements, and exit agreements, that your equity is safe and that you're taking the most value that you can. So do not underestimate the value of an attorney when you're negotiating with a VC or private equity. Typical question, is your business sustainable? And your answer has to be, you bet it is. Why? This is why. And you have to be ready to align why is it sustainable. How can you make it sustain through crisis, wars, the next COVID, whatever you want, monkeypox. And you have to be ready to say, it will go through, and will be sustainable. This is not slideware, this is not things in here. As I told you before, act local, think global. Nobody can come up on a startup or on a seed round saying, I got this global project, unless you have a $6 billion project that potentially will impact the world, but then you're not raising seed money, you're somewhere else. It's a different type of structure. When you're requested, what's your exit? Be ready. I got you. I know what we're doing. I'm going to IPO, I'm going to merge, I'm going to sell, I'm going to do acquisitions. Whatever you can think of, it's valid. Imagination is acceptable. No one knows where the future is going. Maybe I will help you. I'll be ready to answer that question. If you tell the VC, I don't know, you will let me know. I know what I'm doing. In 3 years, I'm going to kick your butt to perform and sell your company. That's it. And this takes me to the top, which is VCs are not in to make friends. They're in to make money. So if you see what a VC, they're friendly, give you nice coffee, beautiful offices, but they're thinking 3 years ahead, 3 to 5 years ahead, and they're thinking, how much money am I going to make up this dudes? And that's what we're thinking, unfortunately, because that's the nature of the business. And by the way, we got a bunch of people behind us that are, driving us crazy because they want returns. So no experience, no money. As I told you before, you cannot fake a business experience. You cannot fake a lack of knowledge in this technology. Prepare yourself, educate, learn, read, do whatever you need to do in order to learn as much as you can. I assure you, there's a guy next to you that knows more than you, and he's gonna get that money, not you. And of course, at the end, know your numbers. You will be surprised how many times I tell people, what's your profit in the third year? Oh, I don't know, let me look at the financials. What's your potential customer number in year 2? When do you break even? People don't know that how I'm going to give you money if you don't even know your business. Why will I give money to my friend who I love very much if he doesn't know what he's doing? He's just there to get a check. So know your numbers. Be prepared. Learn them by heart. It's super important. You need to understand your profitability, how much you grow, how much money it's for customer acquisition, how much, when do you break even, potential pitfalls that you may have, or potential crisis. Be ready to answer them. So to close my presentation, what I've told a lot of people and they laugh at me, I just tell them, you're a legal piece. That's what you are. You're just part of a bigger plan, especially in AI. You will not be the AI solution. You will just be a part of it. A very large part or a small part, but you'll still be a part of it. So what I tell people, don't force yourself. You will find your perfect place. And that's where you fit, and that's what you're gonna get, and you will succeed if you know that. Thank you very much.
Amazing, amazing. So if anyone has any questions, go ahead and ask. Anyone? Right here.
First, I want to say excellent presentation. I didn't expect to. I just came here because I came here last week, but I didn't expect to see this because I'm literally doing that right now, raising money literally. And I've raised money before, and I was one of those companies that you talked about in the whole crypto space.
Yeah.
And so I really know like that was a serious thing. Unfortunately, what I went through was the the risk of governmental like coming down on us. Like they pretty much shut us down because we was in that space that wasn't really regulated properly yet. And some of the stuff that you're talking about is just so beneficial that I really needed to see this right here. Because literally, as I'm watching this, I have an investor asking me questions right now about it, about some of the stuff, and this motivated me to kind of retool some of my pitch deck to directly address those 9 things that you said. So I guess my question would be somebody that has the real experience in that space, because so far my experience is not really with VCs, it's more so with angel investors, just because with angel investors you kind of have a lot more wiggle room. You know what I mean?
They love you.
Yeah, and if you want to pivot, it's a little bit easier to pivot compared to a VC. That's kind of like. So what advice I guess would you give to a startup that is going from the angel investor space to the VC space in like a limited partnership type of structure? If it's a AI, specifically we're dealing with AI in the real estate space.
Interesting. Um, it doesn't really change the fact that you can be a corporation or a limited partnership, honestly. The thing with angel investors is this is people that you usually know that are willing to give you a $50,000 check, which is potentially disposable money. By the way, there's classifications. They call you an accredited investor, a high net worth individual, and in our industry, we have something called gems. You know what a gem is? Just enough money to give you. So an angel is a gem. It's someone that can give you $50,000, but that's as far as they can go. So as you transition, you need to understand that you're speaking with professionals that deal with money, projects, numbers, analytics all day long. And before they invest with you, they try usually to do their homework, to know what they're getting into. They usually buy reports from analysts that technically know what they're saying so they can understand where they're putting their money. So be prepared for that. Prepare yourselves. That's what I told you. Educate, learn, and be formal. No, back of a napkin type of plans. That's great for an idea, but it doesn't work for real investors.
Great, thank you so much. And I have a question from the live stream. From DJ, question is, Henry, do you raise money for companies as a finder, or do you have a company that does private placements, or do you invest LP money?
Um, so I've been on the entrepreneurial side. So I raised money for myself, close to $150 million in over 20 years. So I know what it is to be with a hat in my hand. Sometimes that hat was very empty. but it works. So the way we invest money is usually through VC funds or growth capital funds. I'm not into private equity. I like the early growth spaces better. And that usually we do it through a GP-LP structure, through LLPs that we do investments. The typical structure, if you're familiar with it, is basically 220s with some accelerators in the future. And that's usually what the LPs want. LPs are becoming smart. Family offices have their own funds. So they're becoming more aggressive. They're trying to negotiate their returns, et cetera. At the end of the day, it's their money. We put some money over money ourselves. We try to do it. I think that's the ethical thing to do. It's always fun to spend someone else's money, but I don't think it's responsible.
I thank you for that. I'm not familiar as much with the whole concept, but in any case, I was wondering, do VCs have a roadmap as to where they're going with AI? What is it that they want to invest in?
What is it they want to invest in? What are they looking for? Do they know what they're looking for? Because AI, you mentioned it, it was like the dot-com bubble. It blew up. And, everyone that invested, a lot of them lost. Is AI going to be a similar thing? So is there something in particular that they're looking for and hoping for?
If you have studied economics, periods of high exuberance usually lead to periods of mass devastation. I think that AI will be one of those periods, but there will be the majority of the entities that actually survive are very powerful and real business. And it's okay, the nature of economics and investing. As to your answer to your question, if VCs have a plan of where to invest, yes, you have to. You have to tell your investors what is your investment thesis. You have to tell them what is that you're going to do, where you're going to put the money, why is it going to put it there, and what's the potential gains in terms of valuations or cash flow or fixed income, whatever you're doing in terms of your fund that they can expect. And they expect you to know more than themselves. Because otherwise, what would they give you their money, right? So most of the VCs, I don't say everyone, because there's a lot of really crazy ones too, that are throwing money at things that move around. I think that if you have a VC that is a serious and responsible party, he will negotiate with you where you are and let you know where you are, where you position in terms of potential competition, how much money you're going to get based on a realistic valuation. Okay? And they will expect from you that you perform and that where you put your mouth is where they put their money. So it's very important. Same way I say, you have to be responsible with people's money, you have to be responsible with the VC money too.
Good question. First, I want to thank you so much. What a great, amazing presentation. It helps all the founders in AI and companies know exactly what to do before they're raising money from VCs. But the question for me I have is, now, say the VC and the founder of AI got together, they worked together. What does success mean to the VC that they're expecting from the founder of a company that has AI? Or what is the KPI that VCs are looking for to say, okay, you're doing good on a quarterly basis or on an annually basis? Or what are those KPIs and criteria that they're looking for?
Very simple. It's how much your net enterprise value has raised. So no different. If you say your company's worth $100 million when we give you the money, next year I want your company to be worth $200 million. And the year after I want you to be worth $400 million. How do you get there? And that's why, sometimes you hear horror stories from VCs that can be very difficult to work with, is they want you to perform. They want you to go beyond and above the limitations that you set on a plan. They want you to show actual customers, actual invoices, and not burning through money. So a lot of VCs will tell you, this is your runway. And if 2/3 on the runway, you don't have the speed to take off, we're cutting you off.
What are the most valuable business problems that you've seen people try to solve AI for? Like, what industries do you think are willing to pay the most money for AI solutions?
Two, banking and finance and defense.
What type of like finance?
Anything that has to do with trading, economical analysis, because the banks are evolving, and banks basically need to allocate money in the most efficient way. So it has to do with allocation in businesses that actually produce money. If you're giving away mortgages or consumer lending, you need to analyze those risks real time and be able to reduce and mitigate those risks. And the other one is the world after COVID is swimming in cash. So how to allocate that cash in the most effective way at the lowest cost possible is one of the things they need to solve, among many others. Defense, I don't even need to tell you. Defense is huge.
Well, if you could give just like one fun, a very valuable use case for defense, what do you think it would be?
I think that the most valuable thing in defense is have the ability to monitor and analyze combat situations and create scenarios real time. Because combat is very fluid.
Predictive analytics.
Predictive analytics? Well, yeah.
That's the number one thing they're spending defense on, right?
Yeah. And which is basically part of analyzing what may be a combat or what's happening in the future real time. You know, there's companies like Anduril and several others. I come from that world a little bit, so, but I will agree with this gentleman. Predictive analytics and combat analysis, which is more or less the same. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Great presentation. May I ask you a theoretical? In a future where AI will allow people to, well, AI will just do more in the future. Whatever can be done with AI pretty much. And also in a future where the internet is so interconnected like it already is, you can do so many things to fund yourself, but even better so with AI. From your position, from your stance, how likely is it that people being able to fund themselves using AI to then build their own projects would just be able to phase out the need for a VC anyways?
Interesting question, and I've asked the question myself over the last 3 months heavily. Especially because when running to VC funds, it's having the ability and the speed to really identify what you can invest, where should invest, like this gentleman just said, predictive analytics and defense. That you will be able to fund yourself. There are applications today that allow you to apply that potentially will analyze your business opportunity and everything you provide and will potentially connect you with investors. Today, at the end of the day, you're going into someone's pocket to give you money. So how to present that opportunity to that someone that owns the money in an effective way, I think there's a gap. I think AI will close that gap and will give you opportunities. I heard somebody is working on a real estate AI application. And you all heard about tokenization and fractionalization of real estate. If you're a company doing tokenization of real estate, like Red Swan in Houston, it's basically giving access to an investor directly to an income-producing property without having to go through a bank or a fund. So that's a solution that gets solved. When it comes to an investment, it depends how safe the investor will feel with what the AI has provided him as a good opportunity. But it will be there. It definitely is going that way.
Is there a potential, would you think, for people to be able to fund themselves using AI without actually having to create a product to sell to other people? Because I've seen that entertainment is one of the biggest industries, especially with something like YouTube, which is beat out every other subscription service. People can, of course, entertain others, and if their content is worth it, they actually do get a lot. They can get a lot of money out of it.
Well, I think that what's going to happen is if you have the money today in order to have an AI create content, you basically will fund yourself by the AI creating the opportunity. You will basically create it from the script to the characters to generating everything. That's true for multiple things. It can be for people that write books. They work for people that do, create content for education. So technically, yes. Now, if you want to build a company that you have to reach out and go to customers and you need marketing and advertising money or using the AI to do that, you still need to pay somebody, even if it's yourself. So either that money comes from the customer, and by the way, we all know a lot of companies that started with a couple of bucks and they've grown big because there was a really hard-working entrepreneur behind it, going after customers, knocking on doors. Or there's companies that, like the ones I presented to you, valuation of $22 billion, and they got on a Series B, a $6 billion fund. So it's depending on the scale. So yes, it's possible. I think it will come. There will be a point where the same AI will start creating things itself. It will basically won't need somebody to come up with an idea. It will identify the idea, it will create it, it will market it, it will create something that will produce income. Maybe that income will not be beneficial to AI. Maybe it's beneficial to a community. I don't know. That's, one of the big questions, how far and how impactful this will be to society.
Thank you.
Hi. So I was actually really interested when you were talking about the healthcare industry. I'm somebody that was in Western and then transitioned to Eastern medicine, and I've seen the potential for AI and that merge. And when you were speaking about AI helping with disease, cancers, and not using chemicals, is there potential for VCs to be interested in investing in herbal remedies and more of a natural take? Is there potential for anything there? And do you see anybody willing to go up against what the medical system looks like now in terms of investing in that direction?
Well, I think let me divide my answer because the medical industry applies to doctors. And, when it comes to healing people through either medicine or other types of treatments, that's therapeutics. That's a different type of area. There is division today. Starts with mRNA, it starts with stem cell treatments. It starts with the ability to do a diagnosis from your genetic material and predicting that in 30 years you're going to get breast cancer. So let's cure that today. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
When it comes to herbal treatments or any sort of natural treatment, I've seen a couple of projects. There's a gentleman that we met a couple of months back, and he's doing a genetic mapping of every herbal remedy in the planet today. He's a little wild because he's trying to patent it. And I'm telling you, you cannot really patent what nature created. But nonetheless, he's created that library. So eventually, the AI will know that in order to heal you, and if you believe in herbal or other more natural ways of treating you, you will be able to get to the library and ask the AI, what should I take when I have a stomach illness or some other form of treatment? And that is happening. Those maps and those parameters are being processed today. The mapping of genetic protein chains has been done for the human beings. How they affect us and what they impact us is almost done. The machines will very soon have that, so we'll know how to cure things. If a herbal supplement or a herbal product can heal that, I will bet you it will be used. By the way, the same way that the pharmaceutical industry is looking at everything natural in a lot more attention than they did when they were basically industrially processing chemicals.
Well, my experience with it was herbal is kind of like the natural biochemistry, so you just extract, synthesize, patent, and make money on it. I have another question where I personally had programmed my own GPT bot. I specifically started studying Chinese medicine and acupuncture. I've met people that have cured their own breast cancer through acupuncture herbal remedies. My question then would be for somebody interested in integrating AI to, let's say, do tongue diagnosis and then people filling out this assessment or the specific questions to identify a certain pattern and then recommend an herbal remedy. Is there potential for something like an application like that in your experience with being a VC for somebody to willingly or want to invest in an idea like that?
Absolutely, yes. And Unfortunately, we didn't have the presence of Dr. Scheller, who's a good friend of us here, and an amazing individual. She's an immuno-oncologist, breast cancer survivor, and she's worked in the pharmaceutical industry. And she will tell you that, yes, that is definitely an opportunity. That's an opportunity that we have F3 Fund, the Bioscience and Health Tech AI Fund, are looking for. So yes, the answer is yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Any more questions?
Enrique, I have to say, great presentation again. I see that you come from Venezuela, so what is the impact of AI in emerging economies? Like, for example, in Latin America, do you see the same level, higher level, lower level?
Higher level. And I'll tell you why higher level. The problem with most of the emerging economies, and I'm not going to use Venezuela as an example because Venezuela today is a black swan. But let's say that you have a country like Brazil. Brazil is a BRIC, right? Technically it measures its economy with the same level as India, Russia, China, correct? Imagine the impact that you could have using AI, for example, for better crop production, better transportation, more efficient use of resources in a country with almost 250 million, 220 million people. Imagine what it can do for a smaller country, a country like Colombia, or a country like El Salvador, 4.3 million people. I'm not here for politics, but El Salvador has done pretty good by cleaning up and using applications for law enforcement and security, identifying potential people and managing it. Other arguments can come out of that, but it's definitely going to change. Imagine the ability for people to have access in a more efficient and cheaper way to food, medicine, and education. I don't know if you're Venezuelan, I don't know where you're from, but for example, what happens in most of the emerging countries, and I've had work when I was at the fintech company, we had 72 countries where we implemented systems. And the problem is education creates a huge wealth gap. Because if you know, you have education, you're part of the elite. If you don't have access to education, you're always living in impoverished lifestyle in an impoverished society. So AI is definitely going to change it. I'm a firm believer it will.
Thank you.
I have one more follow-up from the live stream. EJ was wondering, you introduce people to LPs or, you introduce us to VCLPs?
Yes, we do. Through Arica Financial, the investment banking firm that we have, we do work with companies. Unfortunately, I don't take startups that are from scratch. I usually want them after they did their their late seed or Series A, because that's what my investors want to see. And we do get them introduced to GEMs, high net worth value individuals, family offices, other funds as well. But yes, we do that. We package it and we promote it.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
One more question. Thank you for great presentation. Which AI accelerators you would recommend in Miami for AI founders? Or we should be more focused on California founded accelerators? Or in Miami, we have a lot as well, some programs.
It's hard for me to tell you which accelerators are in AI. There are several organizations in Miami. One is represented here through Miami AI Salon, but I'm not very familiar with the accelerator space in Miami. I'm more familiar with the VCs investing in AI and technology. But just reach out to these organizations like Miami AI Salon or several others. California is hot. Austin is super hot when it comes to AI. New York as well. So just try to reach out and see what you can get. That's number one. Second, the United States Armed Forces have created their own venture capital and incubators as well. You have to target defense or defense issues or logistical things in defense. So it's good to reach out to them because they also have incubators and potential accelerators. So that's a good source as well. Not to mention state organizations as well, like Florida Tech Ventures as well.
Thank you.
I think that I just wanted to also comment something on that. I think it's better to look for vertical, um, other than AI. There used to be an accelerator here in town that disappeared from one day to the other, AI Forge. Um, my opinion is that it wasn't very good. I mean, I went to the first demo day and I thought that it was very bad. But I think that it's better that you look for an accelerator in your vertical. And then in that vertical, there will be also there will be startups working on AI.
And I guess one question just came to my mind just recently. I echo what everyone else said. Amazing presentation. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
My question is, what are the relationships between VCs and communities? And do you see a way to bridge, the VCs with, communities or AI communities in the local area?
Well, I think that there's a multitude of events that are trying to, put them together. VCs are always looking for a deal. That's their nature. They need to put their money somewhere. And, entrepreneurs are looking to connect with money. So there's, things like Anatech, VNTR, multiple initiatives that are basically connecting VCs and LPs or individual investors with opportunities. In Miami, I can count at least 4 or 5 that happen monthly. You can look on Eventbrite or Luma that are there. Some of them are by invitation only, so you need to apply and really qualify to present. So that's an option. Many years ago, when I was with the hat in my hand, I remember going to big events like Emerge Americas. And at some point, I started feeling that it's like the gazelles hunting the lions. You understand what I'm saying? So it's a bunch of people raising money, running after the VCs. But it should be the other way. I have an opportunity. I can make your money grow. So, choose well where you want to go and who you want to meet instead of the gazelle hunting the lion.
Thank you. Well, amazing presentation. Everyone give it a round of applause to Henry.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Everyone, this is just one thing that we do here all the time. Every week, we go ahead and bring together the best and brightest from here in Miami. We bring together the community members every week to help presentations so we can educate one another, so we can stay ahead of the AI wave of change. As we can see from this presentation, it's moving incredibly fast. I think a lot faster than any of us really thought. I mean, just trying to put all those numbers in perspective, it's almost unfathomable. Right? So that's why we're here, to learn from one another, to grow together. And I believe that the future of society could even potentially be found within these conversations, even within this room. These conversations that exist between all of us that will really help create the future. So everyone, I want to thank everyone here for coming and really, really appreciate everything that we've done and built together. I mean, look around. We must have more than 60 people. So thank you so much, everybody. I would love to give a shout out to the Hub once again for allowing us to have this amazing, amazing space. We don't take it lightly. And in fact, next month, stay tuned. We're going to be having here at the Hub Microsoft certifications for AI engineering here, brought to you by ByteCon. And also, I want to give you a little sneak peek for the next 3 weeks. So next week, we'll be having Alejandro Acosta. He is a staff software engineer over at Microsoft /LinkedIn. And he's going to be giving a great presentation on providing online how to use AI for online coaching, and how to build your own business for coaching. And the week after, we'll be having, I believe, Kai Gomez. We'll be talking about swarms. Amazing. We're going to be showing enterprise grade level AI agents and how to use these inside of our own businesses and how to automate business automations. So this is going to be very exciting. It's the very first AI agent framework created. So we've had super excited, and I'm excited for everything we're going to be doing together. In fact, we're going to be doing workshops together very soon. So stay tuned. GP Tuesday and Swarms. Let's go. This is going to be very exciting. And now, in closing, let's just all have some great conversations with one another. Give us let's just all get to know each other. And thank you again for coming. Woo! And a big announcement coming next week, so stay tuned.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Were you recording? Yo pensaba, como ha dicho que hay live stream. Sí, ellos lo grabaron, pero yo grabé con el micrófono, con el audio. ¿Te acuerdas que cuando fuimos, yo cuando nos conocimos, nadie escucha nada? Yo personalmente no escucho nada y eso me frustra. Yo lo que yo hice fue que traje mi propio micrófono.
Oh, yes. And one last thing, everybody. Parking validation. Parking validation. Parking validation. If you want to get parking validation, please go to the front desk. Pick up the tickets, bring your fee down, $10.
Pero que le pones un aparatito para...
Sí, este es el micrófono.
Wireless.
Sí, entonces este es wireless. Él lo tiene, lo que tenía él aquí puesto es el micrófono. Entonces yo solamente conecto esto y de una no tengo que utilizar ninguna aplicación, nada. De una el micrófono se
Me tienes que
conecta.
pasar los datos para ver si lo tenemos o compramos o algo. Porque estaría bueno hacerlo así también.
Mira, que no sé qué lo hizo él y
The problem with VCs are we're very particular. We want to invest, but we don't have.
sí, es un que
That's the
llega ahí,
weirdest thing.
básicamente.
There's tools like
Yo compré uno con dos, entonces si quiere hacer una entrevista,
Facebook, but it's very
super pago,
expensive.
porque un
Or
chiste,
find an
sirve
investment
para
bank